Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be reviewing how to make cross sections and pick tops in a petrophysical interpretation in Danomics. So at this point, you should have already created your welcome project folder and loaded your data into it. In this video, we're specifically going to be using the log database, tops database, and well database. To get started, we can right-click on this folder and select New Petrophysical Calculation. And I'm going to name this Welcome Project. And this creates a new blank petrophysical project for us. To bring the data into the project, we come to the Databases area, and we select our well headers, our well logs, and our well tops. Once we've done this, we can see that it populates our map, and it populates our well list. And if I click on a well, it'll bring up the well logs and tops from that particular well. Now, what we're going to be focused on in this video is making a cross section, and there are a few different ways that we can do that here in the petrophysical calculation. Just so we have the most area available to us, I'm hiding away our databases and our files here, and I'm going to zoom in here on the map. Okay, so now how do we make a cross section? The first thing we could do is we come over here to our well log panel, and we'll see that we have the well log, LAS, and the cross section tabs. We're going to click on the cross section tab, and we'll see that it automatically draws us a cross section that has all our wells available. Okay, this is quite a useful view to get started, and there are a number of things that we can do here. For example, when we come up here to the top bar, we'll see that we have options for cross section, plot, flatten on, and depth. Let's go to flatten on, and let's flatten on the Lewis formation. So once we do that, you can see the cross section immediately redraws, and it's now flattened on the Lewis. So we're viewing this in a stratigraphic view instead of a structural view. If we go back to none, it puts us back in that structural view. We'll leave this flattened for now because it's a bit easier to view on the screen. We still have all the same controls that we have in the normal petrophysical well log view. We can zoom in using the middle mouse wheel, zoom in and out. We can left click and drag in the depth track to do a rubber band zoom. And we can change our templates. So for example, if we wanted to change the template, we could either hover over that curve and select the settings icon, or we can select the settings icon here in the top right, which will bring up the settings for the various tracks. So for example, if we wanted to change the scale on the resistivity to go from 2 to 200, we can do that. And you'll see that it immediately redraws here. If we wanted to use a more complex template than our simple gamma ray resistivity, we could select one. In the Petrophysics, there are a number of pre-built templates that allow you to QC different parts of your interpretation, as well as to view the raw data. So here we're looking at a triple combo, and we can always quickly go back to our gamma ray resistivity view. For this automatically generated cross section, you'll notice that I didn't draw this, it was automatic. We have 3 different ways to make automated cross sections that include all of your wells. I'm going to focus on the serpentine method here. And let's say that I want to understand how this is drawn. I can click on this settings icon, and I can select Show Track Boxes. And over here in the map, you'll notice that we see these lines moving back and forth, and the cross section is simply going within those lines. If I wanted to make the cross section maybe not go back and forth as frequently, I could set the width of the track box, and if I wanted to draw it, let's say north-south instead of east-west, I could do that as well. And once again, you'll notice that it immediately draws the cross section here. Okay, so once we have that, now we're ready to maybe draw our own cross sections in here. So how can we do this? Well, all we have to do is come over to our map. We click the settings icon, and then we'll expand out the cross sections menu. And you'll notice there's not a lot of options here for you. first of all, we need to create a database to store our cross sections in. So we'll say create new, and I'm going to call this welcome project cross sections and hit OK. And this creates us a new cross section database. That cross section database can now be found here in my welcome project folder. And when I click new here, it will give me an option to create a new cross section. So I'm going to make an east-west cross section here. So I'm going to say capture east-west 1. Once again, the way I did that, I right-click on the map and select capture east-west 1. And as I click across my map here, it draws out my cross section. Once I'm done, I can select cancel capture. And if I want to make another cross section here, once again, I can just say new. And let's call this one north-south 1. You'll notice that initial line disappears. I can make that come back by clicking all up here instead of active. And then I can just right-click, say capture north-south 1. And once again, I can click well to well. And once I'm done, I can say cancel capture. I can continue adding cross sections as needed here. One thing I do want to highlight is what happens if I get a cross section that's a bit out of order. So let's say I've decided I want to add one more point here to my north-south cross or my east-west cross section. I'm going to activate east-west 1, and I'm going to right-click and say add to east-west 1. And you'll notice what happens is now that well that we just added is way out here on the end. I can come here to my list, and I can see all my wells. This is the last one that I added. So I can click on these 8 dots to the side, and I can drag that up and drop it at the top of my list. And now it's back in the correct order here. And then if I decided I wanted to eliminate that well, I didn't like having that well on my cross section, I can hover over it and I can click the X and it will remove that well. Okay, now that we've done that, how do we toggle back and forth between cross sections? We have 2 options once again. We can either click on the line in the map, or we can come here to our cross section selector and choose. Do we want to look at east-west 1, north-south 1, or perhaps our auto-generated cross section? Okay, so finally, we want to end this by evaluating how we can go through and pick tops. So you'll notice there are some wells here that have both a Parkman and a lower Parkman top. But the lower Parkman has not been picked across all of our wells. So what we'd like to do here is we would like to make that pick. So if I'm only missing it from a couple of wells, what I may want to do is just right-click here on my well log, say Add Top, and it'll give me the option of tops that are available. So I could, for example, add my lower Parkman. Okay, so now we filled that in for a couple of wells. But as I can see, this top has not been consistently picked, and I want to pick it across multiple wells without having to right-click and select Add Top on each of these. What I can do is I can right-click on the lower Parkman and say Capture. Once I've done this, I can now click Well to Well. And I'll just scroll along here, and we can continue to make these picks across our area. Okay, and it's as simple as that to come in and pick out the stratigraphy in your wells. And remember, once you're done with those picks, you can just right-click and say Cancel Capture, and then you can either use Control S or File Save to save your work. Okay, so I hope that was a useful start on how to make cross sections. If you are not using the Petrophysics and you just want to make your cross section in a map view, we'll be covering that in the next tutorial video. Thank you.